The period in America between 1870 and 1900 is known as the Gilded Age. The term Gilded Age was coined by Mark Twain. It was a satirical twist on the term Gilded Age, meant to describe the time as glittering on the surface, but often corrupt and economically unbalanced underneath. In spite of great income inequality between the super wealthy and the rest of society during this period, as America as a whole grew wealthier and more mobile, the Gilded Age saw the birth of many new forms of mass entertainment and leisure options. The growth of leisure during the Gilded Age was heavily influenced by the growth of the American economy. The discovery of electricity, the development of a national transportation system using steam engine railroads, and improved factory manufacturing techniques all contributed to increasing urbanization and wealth creation in the United States. Because of these advances, the United States had become the largest economy in the world. Tycoons such as Rockefeller, Carnegie, Vanderbilt, Astor, and Mellon built immense fortunes from the steel, railroad, and finance industries. For this small number of incredibly affluent Americans, entertainment and leisure was often seen as a means to visibly demonstrate their wealth and powerful status. The tycoons built grand mansions in places such as Newport, Rhode Island, that at one time became the summer home for 200 families, possessing more than 80% of America's wealth during the late Victorian period. The tycoon families often spent at least 6 weeks each year at their summer estates and engaged in conspicuous leisure. They wanted to see and be seen. Often they would engage in leisure activities such as fox hunting, archery, polo, yachting, and lawn tennis that mimicked those of European royalty. In Newport, gentlemen wore riding uniforms and paraded horse-drawn carriages down Bellevue Avenue with women and their escorts on top of the carriages in the practice known as coaching. For most Americans, the entertainment options afforded the super wealthy were, of course, out of reach. For the first time, however, the beginnings of a broad middle class was developing in American society. These people increasingly possessed two ingredients necessary for the development of mass entertainment: time and disposable income. For this class of Americans, entertainment and leisure activities exploded during the Gilded Age. These ranged from the development of professional sports to the rise of amusement parks, live theater, movies, and active participation in activities such as cycling. The Chicago World's Columbian Exposition in 1893 was an early precursor to the modern amusement park. The exposition covered more than 600 acres and featured nearly 200 new buildings of predominantly neoclassical architecture, canals, and lagoons. More than 27 million people attended the exposition during its 6-month run. Considering that the total U.S. population was only around 75 million people in 1900, the exposition was incredibly popular. New rides such as the first steel Ferris wheel, designed by George Ferris, captivated the crowds. The growth of middle-class leisure activities was facilitated by the increasing mobility of Americans. The electric trolley car serviced most major American cities by the 1890s. This led to the development of trolley parks, sites outside of the city located at the end of the trolley line. Trolley owners added attractions such as dance halls, live entertainment, and mechanical rides at the end of the line, which became very popular. Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York had started out as a beach vacation community back in 1829. By 1876, though, 2 million passengers rode the Coney Island Railroad, where large hotels were built to cater to both the upper and working class. The first roller coaster, the Switchback Railway, was installed in the 1880s. Its cars had been converted from coal mining trains. It was not until 1895, however, that the first permanent amusement park in North America opened, Sea Lion Park at Coney Island. This park was one of the first to charge admission to get into the park, in addition to selling tickets for rides within the park. In 1897, Sea Lion Park was joined by Steeplechase Park. The combination of the nearby population center of New York City and the ease of access to the area made Coney Island the embodiment of the American amusement park. Coney Island was a huge success, and by the year 1910, attendance on a Sunday could reach 1 million people. By the early 1900s, hundreds of amusement parks were operating in the United States and Canada, entertaining the masses on rides such as the Giant Swing, Carousel, and Shoot the Chutes. In addition to Coney Island, Lake Erie, New Jersey, and Chicago also became popular sites for amusement parks. The people of America wanted thrills, and they were ready to pay well for them. Another form of middle-class entertainment that developed during the Gilded Age was vaudeville theater. Unlike the leisure focus of the tycoons, where men and women often engaged in separate activities, vaudeville was designed for a mixed-gender audience and featured a large variety of diverse acts. Traveling entertainment was also extremely popular. One such display was the circus, especially the Barnum and Bailey Circus, which was advertised as the greatest show on earth. Much like those of today, it featured an array of animals and performers gathered under a big tent. P.T. Barnum, one of its founders, started out as the owner of a freak show. He was keen on advertising, though, and also knew how to attract audiences, skills he needed in order to compete with the Ringling Brothers Circus, his main competitor. That show was also quite a spectacle, featuring lavish scenery and thousands of performers. The two each strove to be recognized as the best in the world, which helped to make the circus the show to see when it came to town. Another form of theater that had its beginnings in the Gilded Age were the movies. They emerged due to Thomas Edison's kintograph, a new type of camera that could photograph motion pictures. At first, movies were very short and contained no plot structure. Due to their growing popularity, however, Nickelodeons, the first permanent movie theaters, began to spring up. Soon after, glamorous movie palaces, such as the Roxy in Los Angeles, were built to mimic the grand style of real theaters. The film industry thrived because of its efficiency. People paid low prices to watch movies, but they brought big business because of their sheer number. During the Gilded Age, middle-class Americans also began to develop a craze for physical activity. One popular form was bicycling, and it became a passion that seized the country. In the late 1800s, the bicycle was constantly being improved upon until the invention of the safety bicycle, which greatly increased its popularity. Both men and women were part of the bicycle mania. More casual, loose-fitting clothes were also developed for women to ride in, which made cycling popular with both genders. Spectator sports also became enormously popular. Thoroughbred horse racing attracted great crowds, with black jockeys winning most of the early Kentucky Derbies until resegregation occurred in the early part of the 20th century, preventing them from riding for many decades. The era of modern boxing was created in 1892 when James J. Corbett defeated the last of the great bare-fisted fighters, John L. Sullivan. Afterwards, fights began to be arranged according to weight class instead of whichever heavyweight could stand upright the longest. Team spectator sports also saw the development of both professional basketball and baseball. As with other forms of mass entertainment, the growth of railroads and transportation systems also allow professional sports teams and their fans to more easily travel, leading to the growth of such activities. The Cincinnati Red Stockings of 1869 were baseball's first fully professional team with 10 salaried players. In 1869, the Red Stockings posted a perfect 65-0 record, the only perfect season in baseball history. This was the first team to play on the East and West Coast in the same season. More than 2,000 people greeted the team when it arrived in San Francisco, helping to nationalize baseball as America's sport. Basketball was invented in 1891 by James Naismith, who was under orders from the head of the Springfield, Massachusetts YMCA to come up with an indoor game within 14 days that would provide an athletic distraction for a rowdy class of boys during the harsh New England winters. Naismith's boss demanded that it would not take up much room, help keep its track athletes in shape, and not be too rough. Basketball quickly grew in popularity at the college level, and by 1904 had already become a demonstration sport in the 1904 Summer Olympics held in St. Louis. In conclusion, the Gilded Age was not all fun and games for many Americans. Millions of Americans still lived in poverty and had little opportunity to enjoy recreation. For a growing number of our citizens, however, it was a time in which the growth of leisure and entertainment provided the chance to learn more about the world and enjoy some of the fruits of their labor. America's love with being entertained continues today and remains as strong a part of our national identity.